What's good,
Hi,
my people? What's good? What's good? What's good?
what's
I'm
going
everywhere talking
on?
now. I got a special guest with me. Uh, so I wanted to do an episode where we talked about the empowerment of women and point out um, someone in our community, a woman of color, who could be an inspiration to some of the young young sisters coming up. So I keep dropping my notes. I have Sharmalyn Bygrave, correct?
Yes, yes, that's
I said it
correct.
right. Did I read
Yep.
you was born in Jamaica?
Yes, I was. I was born in Buff Bay, Portland, Jamaica.
Okay, so you was born in Jamaica. When did you come stateside?
Well, when I was 16. So I finished high
16.
school and then I came here. Yes.
Wow. So how was that adjustment?
Um, Initially rough. Honestly, it's kind of a culture shock and environment shock too, because I came from living in the country, in a house and coming to New York in apartment buildings. So it's just a totally different environment.
So what's that 10th grade?
No, we actually go up to 10th is yeah, we go up to 11.
Speak up a little bit. I didn't hear what you said.
No, we go up to 11. But I finished. I finished high school and I actually
Oh,
came here and did a year in Mount Vernon High
well,
in the
okay.
Bronx. So finished and started again.
So I want to go over some of the things that Charmelin does. She owns a, a company called Cute as a Button Staff, and we'll get into that. She's a financial coach. She owns Airbnb, correct?
Mhm. Yep, that's correct.
In Jamaica.
Hmm.
See, I read that. She's an event planner, and you have a credit restoration business as well. So
Yep.
tell me about Cute as a Button staffing.
Sure. Cute as a Button came from a personal need. I was looking for a nanny for my own kids when I first had my firstborn. Her name is Rhea. And I couldn't find someone credible. And even when I did, I found people that weren't background checked or anything like that. So that's when I began to realize that all the online platforms did not make background checks a mandatory thing that you had to do. So I created a platform where there's no way for you to get through it without doing a background check. So I have, nannies that are perfectly verified to go.
So when the nanny goes out, they've been 100% vetted.
They're vetted. I called their references. I made sure they were real references and I background checked. I did all of the due diligence. So when they come to your home, you don't have to have that anxiety about worrying, is my child safe, basically.
So who handles that liability? You.
We're a limited liability company, so no, we do not handle liability, but we do give you the word that, all the checks were done. That's not saying that we can verify that something's not going to go wrong. It's saying that
So
we have done our best to make sure something won't.
so once you prove all the checks are done, then you guys, whatever happens after that, is not really on you. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's not.
How many nannies do you have out right now?
Right now, I have about three nannies out.
How many? Say that
Normally
again.
about three. So not a whole lot. I have several other business running, to
Is
be
that
honest.
since the pandemic though?
Yeah, since the pandemic, it's went down a bit. Prior to the pandemic, I was doing maybe 10 at a time,
Wow,
even 10 a week or so. So yeah.
wow.
Hmm.
So I do have to say this. Um, Doing what I do, um, I'm on social media a lot. Not necessarily. I'm looking for content, and I'm
Yeah.
also looking for interesting people to talk to.
Hmm.
And I got to tell you, it is such a pleasure to be able to talk to a person a young lady um, of color that's not shaking everything on the internet, but It's
Okay.
just, it's such a pleasure to have a conversation with, and there's many of you guys out there. But I mean, just as well as I do, when you go on social media, after your third or fourth scroll, you're gonna see somebody twerking or something like that. So it's just great to, before we finish, continue to move forward. I just wanted to tell you that um, people such as yourself, that those are the type of people that need to be on social media and talked about more. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Oh, thank you. But I will add, I've had, everybody's had their moments where they used to do all stuff
Say
and
that
go to the
again. I'm
club.
sorry.
No, I said everybody has had their moments. So
Right,
everybody's had
right.
their time when they went to the club and did all that. I even recently posted something. I'm like, see, I'm not perfect.
Right, right,
Because
right,
I
right.
want people to know I'm just like you. But right now, that's not the vibe for me, personally.
Yeah, I have young kids. Well, my youngest
Hmm.
is 22, um, and my son is 22. He's never been into that type of uh, social media environment.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to let you know that from the minute we started chatting, I found that you was interested and definitely the type of person we needed to get on. So I
Okay.
wanted to tell you
Thank
that.
you.
So when did you become a full-time entrepreneur? At what age? Where you said, I'm not working no more. I don't work for no one but me.
Actually, this year.
This year?
This year, that actually does. I always had a full-time job, so I was event planner for several different pharmaceutical companies: Johnson Johnson, Bayer, Novartis. You probably named the big one. I probably worked with them. So this year, I, yeah, I got into a space where it was layoff, and then I got hired, and then this
Mm-hmm.
didn't work, and I'm like, I feel like God's trying to tell me something. Like it's just like, go, like stop trying to do all of this and just go. But I always had my businesses since about 2009. I was
Mm-hmm.
always juggling something entrepreneurially, but I just never dove in full time.
How do you feel about it so far?
So far, scary.
Yeah.
Complete transparency. I've always had that 6-figure check that was like, that covered everything. So I was good. So to not have that safety net is like, all right, now you got to figure it out. It's got to
Well,
work.
I mean, I've been in that position. I think um, we just have to kind of keep our head down, and let that fear drive us.
Hmm.
Um, so when my brother and I started talking about the podcast thing, I felt the same way. I was like, man, I don't know, bro. I don't know if we could pull it off. But then we got into it and it got fun.
Yeah.
So that's the easy part. I mean, that's the hard part, enjoying it. So now the easy part is going to be trying to figure out our lane. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I think with you having so many businesses, you're going to find your lane one way or the
Finally.
other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which business do you have that you spend the majority of your time on?
Right now, finance. I have a company that I, of course, use to, do the back end work. But the front facing business is mine, my LLC, Sharma B rather. So that I spend the most time on just because I just got it up and running about 6 months
Uh,
ago. I was in the business 2.5 years ago, and I came out and went full time event planning. So it's getting back in and getting back your audience and all of that. So yeah.
do is your the credit restoration is tied to the financial company too, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, are you seeing a lot of credit restoration customers right now? I'm starting to see an influx of that on social media. Now, a
Hmm.
few years ago, I was doing the same thing. I was doing financial literacy and credit restoration, and then of course, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Um, and at that point, people didn't give a damn about fixing their credit. They wanted to make sure they could eat, and I don't
Yeah.
blame them.
Hmm.
And I just never got back into it. Do you feel like um, the as far as in that business, the pandemic we've seen the worst we're going to see as a result of the pandemic when it comes to financial uh, credit restoration and debt and financial literacy. What's your take on that as far
Yeah,
as
sure.
um, if we're are we past the pandemic now, or does it still have a lasting effect on us in your business, in your industry?
Sure. I think it still has a lasting effect. There's people that during the pandemic they lost their jobs, they lost their income, and they were struggling. They had foreclosures. There's all these things on their credit report now, and what did they have to get them removed? And actually, I picked up during the pandemic in credit restoration. There were
Did you?
people that, yeah, there were people that were just like, I just lost my house, and I need to get into an apartment or something, and my credit is messed up. I need help. So I find that that situation is reoccurring because now we have inflation and everything is going up, and our salaries are leveling it out.
Mm-hmm.
So people are not being able to keep up with everything that's going on. So there is definitely a lane, and it's a brand new lane.
So did you? So you say you picked up during the pandemic. So
Hmm.
since the pandemic has kind of subsided, have your numbers gone down, or have
My
they?
numbers have gone down, I'll admit, but it's gone down in terms of credit clients, but it's went up in terms of business owners. Now more
Oh,
people are
okay,
seeing like maybe the route to go is work for myself. But the problem with that is they don't have funding. So
right.
with the company I am with, we do offer business funding, and we do offer personal loans too if you need it on that end. We offer business credit. So there's just things that we could do to push it up.
So you could work with a person to increase their credit, their FICO score,
Hmm.
to then help them if they do have LLCs, help them get business funding. But let me ask you a question
Yep.
about the business funding.
Sure.
Um, what type of history do you have to show as far as deposits and stuff like that?
That is the great part. You could have nothing. Even people with zero history in business have gotten funding, but you have to get in the program and let them work with you. So they're going to tell you what you need. There's people that come in and they just got the LLC. In fact, the LLC is free on our website. You just have to pay the state fees. So there's people that just come in on that level, do the LLC. They come in, they need to build up, their business credit. They need to build up their business portfolio. They don't know that they even need a bank account, opening, a business bank account. So little things like that. People having email addresses with Gmail and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff that just has to be tweaked.
So okay, so I'm this the business funding part is
Mhm.
interesting to me.
Okay.
So you guys have a program where if a person doesn't have any substantial deposit history or any at all, you build that up. How? Say that again.
Sure. So I'm not the expert. So I'll be
Okay.
first to say that I'm not the expert on business credit. But we have a business suite, and what it does is it explains to you line by line what we can do for you and how we're going to step by step build you out. So build out your business portfolio. So there's a whole staff, there's a whole team behind it that does it.
Interesting. You're
Mhm.
gonna have to make sure I get all your websites and stuff, so
Yeah,
I can make sure
absolutely.
the
I'll send it to you.
audience. I'll add it to the description of this episode so
Hmm.
that people can, if they want to, want more information about that, they can have a link to go to. But that's
Absolutely.
interesting. Um, do you have what do you do in your spare time when you have
Sure.
spare time?
When I have spare time. I have two kids. So
Oh,
they're
okay.
in
How old are your kids?
programs. My little girl, she's 11. Her name is Rhea, and Noah is 8.
How old is the other one?
8.
11 and 8. Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
busy. And you got
Yeah.
5 businesses you running.
Yeah. Juggling over here.
Okay. I don't know how you doing that, but that's interesting. So it was something you wanted to talk about, um, in our chats.
Hmm.
You wanted to talk about the difference of spirituality and religion
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in our community.
Hmm.
Um, Um, I, that
You have
is
the
very
words.
interesting to me, and
Yeah.
I would love to hear your take. And I will tell you this. I'm having so I have a nephew, my nephew Jalen. I call him Baby J. He's my heart. He's like 32 years old, so he gets mad that I still call him Baby J. Um, Very spiritual person, religious person. I mean, he's the perfect young man. He and I are gonna have this episode coming up on religion.
Okay.
So when we do have that episode, I'll make sure to let you know so you can watch.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I would love to know. You wanted to talk about that, so I want to hear what you got to say about that.
Sure. Someone just made a Facebook post recently, and I shared it, and I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? There is a drastic difference, and there is also a demonization of one almost of spirituality, and I think it's because of the origin of it. So the lack of knowledge of it makes us afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So there's spirituality here, and it's based more off on love the earth, love everything around you, love everyone around you. And, the way out they worship can be varied. So because of that variation, I think that's where the fear is, because what's
Okay.
unknown is feared. Where we are, Christianity, and I'll speak from
Mm-hmm.
that perspective and on religion, we know the rules. And
Right.
so, because we know the rules, it's familiar. So, what's familiar can't be demonized because we know the rules, right? You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. If you do that, you're bad. If you do this, you're good. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this thing. Do you think um so I tend to think that, and this is probably my fault for being more general than I should,
Hmm.
but I've had bad experiences when it comes to uh, a few pastors. So do you think the whole financial component when it comes to churches and mega churches and the demand for tithes and offerings and that being in the Sunday message so much? I'm not saying it should never be in the message,
Yeah.
but there's certain places and certain churches that's all they talk about. Um, do you do you feel like that's because I tend to think that that's watering down religion.
I can
Um,
see that.
and
Yeah.
I just believe that you can be a very spiritual person without going to church every Sunday.
Mhm.
And but it seems like the ultra Christian community looks down looks down upon you
Absolutely.
for that approach. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on
I agree. I don't necessarily go to church every Sunday. I do go every now and then.
that?
So people will be like, "Oh, she backslid," and I'm like, "But it's not on a dig on anyone." I'm like, "I live my life right, though. So you're not seeing behind closed doors that I'm living my life right, and I do right by people, you know." So I think the pressure on, if you don't go to church every Sunday, you're not on the church choir like you used to be, you are now a backslider.
Right,
There's something
right,
wrong with you. You're not
right.
paying your tithes. You owe me money. I'm like,
But see,
that it shouldn't be that way. Tithes and
so I was
offering, as
always
a matter of fact, was supposed to help. It was not supposed to just primarily be there to build up the church. It was to build up the people in the church. You know?
right, right.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. See, I've always been told um, that God's house is every house, right? Um,
Where two or three are
so
gathered.
say it again.
Where two or three are gathered.
Right,
So if I'm
right.
gathering in my house, you don't know that, you
So
know?
this is gonna seem kind of weird, but like I on Sundays, I used to. My son and I would go to church. He was a young boy. My son and I would go to church, right? Because
Mhm.
he was a young boy. I was trying to teach him the right way. He was living with me. So it was just he and I, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So we would go to church, but then I always, this is weird, but I always felt like I was giving back when I was on a basketball court because that's my church. Because
Okay.
that's where I feel relaxed. That's where I feel like I can serve, that higher being in the best possible way because I'm always in there coaching.
Okay.
Somebody told me I was nuts for thinking that way. But what I do know is that it's getting to a point to where people are starting to feel uncomfortable in churches because think about it. We talk about this inflation and all this other stuff all this time, and people can't, groceries is high, gas is $3.50 a gallon. But yet there's still this church is, demanding more money from people that can't afford it.
I can't afford
Um,
food,
huh?
From people that can't afford food.
Right. People that can't afford food. So
Yeah.
that's why I think religion is kind of getting watered down because people are starting to put their priorities first and they know they got to feed little Johnny before they help Pastor John pay for his jet, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I just, you brought that up to me. Um, this, the spirituality piece. Do you,
Mhm.
do you call yourself do you say that you're a spiritual person or a religious person or both?
I say both. Because my foundation is Christianity, and I read my Bible, and certain things and aspects of spirituality I'm not going to practice. But in terms of when I see other people practicing, or if they do tarot cards and all that stuff, I don't demonize it in the same light. I'm
Right,
like, okay, I can listen to you, I can hear you out, but that's not what where my jive is. But that's on you, and
right.
I don't, as you said, I don't go to church every Sunday. I pray every day, almost minutely, really, and I read my Bible, and I give my kids the same practice. They know their word, and they know it to call on it, when they're in trouble or when they're in need, or just to call God and to know
Do
who God is.
do your kids enjoy the spirituality part of their life that you provided to them?
My son does. My
Your
son
son
will,
does?
yeah, if I put him to bed and I forget to pray, he'll call me back. He's like,
That's funny.
nah,
Because
we didn't pray.
I remember
Yeah.
growing up, my mom used to take us take me. I'm the youngest of seven, and we used to go to Trinidad Baptist Church in Washington D.C. And
Hmm.
that's never what I was looking forward to. What I always look forward to, that's not the part I enjoyed. The part I enjoyed was after church, my mom would take me to McDonald's for breakfast, right?
Hmm.
So she would have no problem getting me ready for church because I knew I was going to McDonald's for breakfast. So I didn't enjoy the church part of it. I enjoyed that afterward,
McDonald's for
just hanging out
breakfast.
with my mom. So the fact that you say
Yeah.
your son enjoys that at a
Hmm.
young age, I think that's amazing. And I
Yeah.
wish I would have, I have 6 kids, and I wish I would have um, um, been more spiritual and religious with them growing up.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if their life would be different, um, but it's just something that I probably, as a father, I didn't focus on as much.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm,
Nice.
I'm really getting into, although they're older, I'm digging into them about their finances and making sure they understand financial literacy. Um,
Hmm.
I'll
That's
send
great.
a random text and it'll be like, "Hey, mortgage rates. Tell me about it.
Okay.
If you have a 620 credit score, is that good? Tell me about it."
Yeah.
Um, And it's funny because, again, my son and one of my older daughters, they always the ones that respond right away. Um, do you think? I believe that financial literacy classes and business classes should be taught in high school.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
Do you think, especially in our community, because in our community, um, and this is not blaming anyone, but in our community, we've a lot of our people that raised us had to work 2 jobs, had to work nights.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you're getting ready for school, you got dinner's already on the stove. Now, fortunate for me, I never was in, my mom and dad worked regular shifts, worked regular jobs, regular hours. So, but there are people um, in our community that did not have that luxury. So I know I'm
Yeah.
blessed for that. But how do you feel about um, some of this stuff getting into? Because I think the best way for it to get into our community is to get into our books.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
how? So I remember when I was living in Arizona, and I talked to the school board about, because I have an MBA, so both my degrees are business. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to teach just a random elective business class. You'd have thought I was running for Congress.
I was about to tell you, it's
You'd
not
have thought I was
easily
running for
done.
Congress just
Yeah.
to teach this class in this. And keep in mind, I was already coaching at the school, so I was already
Mm-hmm.
on campus.
Yeah.
Um, I believe it. That's the best way it gets in our community is getting in our books.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
you do you with you being, because you're a teacher as well? Um, have you
No,
ever thought
I
about?
yeah.
Well,
I'm
you're a
a
financial
coach. I wouldn't
coach.
say teacher.
I meant financial coach,
Yeah.
financial
Mm-hmm.
teacher. Do
Mm-hmm.
you do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's a possibility, but it might go all the way to Washington. If you're going to make it nationwide, because it wouldn't work if we're just saying, oh, we're just going to do it in our community. Would we be a great shining example? Yeah, but that's not helping the majority. To help the majority, you have to take it all the way up to Washington. And I think it's
Right.
something that needs to be done because what happened is, I'll even give you my personal story. I had my first credit card when I was around 20 something, I
Your
think.
first credit card,
Yeah, that like
18 in college.
and
You
I was like 20 something
get them
and
student credit cards.
I didn't know anything. But I didn't do bad with it. I just didn't use it. So I had a 800 credit score, but when I went to apply for anything, I got denied. And I was like, wait a second, my credit score is great. Not realizing that there's nothing on your credit report.
Right.
All I have is this one card that I never use. So
You haven't
nobody knows
used it.
who you are. There's no profile there. But
Right.
nobody told me that.
There's no
No,
history or anything.
yeah, nobody told me that. That's something that I didn't know. So even a good score was still bad. So if it was in high school where I already knew this, if that was already the foundation I came out, by the time I was 18, I would have been clocking. And I think a lot of where our community is failing is because that's not even talked about in our house, much less in the schools. So if we
I
had
agree.
that, and there's so many unnecessary classes in high school, like if this big thing we're missing, this
Yep.
big piece that controls the United States pretty much. It's more than cash. Like you could
Right.
do a
No,
lot
no, you're right.
more
You're
with good
absolutely
credit
right.
than you could do with cash. And it's not talked about at all. It's almost like taboo. I didn't
No,
even know
you're 100%
anybody's
correct.
credit score. Yeah, like did you know your parents' credit score? I bet you didn't. No, they didn't even talk about it.
And it's funny because my mom. So my dad passed away when I was 19, but
Hmm.
I still remember my mom had a bunch of credit cards, and my
Yeah.
mom, they both worked in the Pentagon. Where at the time the Pentagon had a mall underneath, right?
Mm.
And my mom, I'm telling you,
She
I'm gonna
went to
go ahead and
town.
brag. I'm gonna brag right now, but I can really, really, really dress, right? I love
Okay.
the way I get it from my mom. My mom used to come home from work. every day with a bag.
Oh my goodness.
Every day. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember one day she came home. I'm probably a junior, senior, and her and my dad. I never 3 times I've seen them two argue. My dad was extremely frugal,
Yeah.
super frugal.
Yeah.
And my mom, nah, my mom was fly with it. I'm telling you, Fran
That's
B was
called
fly
balance.
with it. So it was they was already that they was always battling that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Most of the time, my mom won because my dad spoiled my mom.
Yeah.
Um, but we learned, like he used to tell us all the time, priorities. I still remember his words to this day: priorities, son. Make sure your priorities straight. Make sure your financial priorities straight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when he passed away when I was 19, I was like, okay. I remember what he said, but mom just gave me $500. What am I gonna do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I never forget that I put it in the bank.
Nice.
And that's when it clicked. Okay, priority. Now, don't get me wrong. I still spend. You know, I try to save. I do save. Um, I invest in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't take it with me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have
And a
fun with
nice
it.
pair of shoes ain't going out of style. So.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, I see that polo jacket right there. That hey, it ain't gonna hurt nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do how often do you talk to your kids about credit and financial literacy and stuff like that? Because I don't think now, if I know what I know now, back then, I don't think there's an age where they're too young to talk about.
Sure. My son, not so much because he has minor ADHD, and by the time the conversation starts, it's over. So he's like all over the place. He's like squirrel, you know.
Right, right.
But my daughter, oh yeah, she's like your mom. She likes nice things. I'm like, if you like nice things, you're not gonna do it with bad credit, you know. So,
So I think,
and she's the type that she'll ask you for money, and she'll have
mm,
$500 holding. She's like, well, let me hold $20.
listen, I let me see. All I have 5 girls, 1 boy.
Mm-hmm.
My son is my dad. Frugal. He's a college student, but he works scholarship. But dude ain't spending money on nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then on the other end, the oldest kid, she's probably more like me. She spends, and then there's Tony, my my next daughter. She's good with her money. Kaylin is good with her money. Um, AJ and Alex are good with their money as well. Um, but again, I didn't start having these conversations with them until the 22-year-olds were probably 10, because I was always just out grinding, chasing the dollar, trying to make that money instead of sitting back and taking the time to talk to them about what I was, what I was chasing and why
Mm-hmm.
I was chasing it. Only thing they knew was, like you said, hey, Dad, I'm going to the movies. Can I have $25? Can I
Yeah.
have $50? And I didn't explain, me as a father didn't explain the importance of money, cash, credit, um, financial literacy, uh, savings accounts versus checking accounts, and
Mm-hmm.
all this other stuff. Do you go over that with your kids, or how in
Yeah.
depth or how detailed do you go with your kids with regards to financial literacy and making sure your credit is, sorry about that, making sure your
Sure.
credit is at a high level, 750 above. How often do you talk to your babies about that?
I try to talk to them at least every couple of weeks. And I also they're already aware that they're added to one of my cards. So I'm already building their credit up when, while they're still young. So at least by the time they start, they won't start where I did, which was, nothing. And not knowing
Good.
nothing. Yeah.
Do you talk to them about entrepreneurship as well?
Oh, that's all my daughter talks about. She's like, I'm never gonna work for anyone.
And
I don't want a job. What's a
I'm never gonna
job?
work for nobody.
What's a job? She's like, you mean I have to
Tell,
clock in at
tell him he
9?
got to establish a foundation first,
Exactly. I'm like,
because
it's not, it's
he
not
gonna be working
easy.
for his mama at cute as a button staffing.
Exactly. Yeah,
He
he's
gonna be
gonna be
your
my little assistant.
administrative assistant at cute as a button staffing. So what I
Hmm.
what I like to do right now is I want to take the time for you. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to um, plug any of your businesses. You can any websites, you can give the websites, but at the same time I'm
Okay.
gonna put them in the description as well. But just go
Sure.
for it. You got
All right.
you got 5 different businesses up here. So,
Yeah.
and I don't have anything to do until 7 o'clock. So floor is yours.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Sharma B LLC. Really, if you go there, you'll see the offerings in terms of finances and so forth. And there's also my link tree, which I will just add that link in the description on this video. And you can see everything we offer. It links out to all, full gambit
Mm-hmm.
of information. Um, Cute as a Button Staffing. If you go to my Facebook, there's a link there. My event company, there's a link there as well, that goes to both my websites.
I hate to be a tax person
There, we do taxes too.
because you got a
That's
lot of
income and
business.
finance.
Yeah, that's too much
Yep.
for me. That's too much for me. What 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 message could you give? Um, because I'm really gonna make sure my kids, especially my daughters, see this
Mhm.
episode and learn more about yourself. Um,
Sure. Thank
what
you.
is it? What message would you leave? Those 15 to 25. What's that generation Z or X or
What are we on now? I think it's
50,
Z.
that 15 to 25-year-old
Hmm.
group of young ladies, especially those of color.
Yeah.
Um, what what message would you want to tell them?
Focus less on things. I think a lot of our generation is focused on who has nice shoes, who is wearing Balenciaga from Balenciaga, We're
Right.
just focused on the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we get to a certain age, we have great clothes, we have great cars, but we have bad credit.
Right.
So we need to focus on what matters. And once you build that foundation, then you can build up from there rather than scraping from Peter to pay Paul.
Have you ever thought about doing speaking engagements?
Someone has mentioned it to me, but thank you.
I,
And
I
yeah.
I think there's an audience for someone like you for that group of that dynamic. That 15 to 25.
Mm.
Um, I, I would tell my kids to go check you out
Oh, thank you.
because I think
Thank you.
somebody with 2 kids, 5 businesses, um, full-fledged entrepreneur, and with no intention on going back to the workforce.
Yeah.
Um, why shouldn't people like that? Like we need to, your story, um, along with others, is the stories we need out there. Instead of the same. I'm getting. Listen, I love comedy just like the next person, but I
Yeah.
swear to God to you, I'm tired of hearing about Monique and DL Hughley and Cat
Oh my
Williams. And
goodness.
I love
Yeah.
Shay Shay to death.
And
That's
now
my
we're on
man. Shout
Diddy.
out to Unc.
We're on Diddy's
But I'm
story now.
tired of hearing about that interview.
Mm-hmm.
You got uh 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 got I don't understand why we need to tear us down instead of having more people in the community, such as yourself,
Yeah.
where you're trying to bring our young people up. So I applaud you for that. Let me see if this works.
Yeah, sure.
Did you hear that?
No.
Did you hear that?
No, it wasn't in effect? No, I didn't.
Hold on. No.
No.
Oh man, that's bad. All right. So look, this is what I want to do. Um, I want to make, if it's okay with you, I like to make you a regular occurring guest.
Okay.
To maybe once a month or something like that, to kind of give us an update on your businesses. But more importantly, I think the more we kind of talk to you, the more younger people will see. Because I have a lot of young people that follow me because I coach over at the
Yeah.
middle school and the high school.
Oh,
More
nice.
young people, and not just young women, but more young people will begin to understand the importance of what we talked about. Um,
Yeah.
so I like to do that like once a month,
Sounds good.
if that's okay with you, and then
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely. I
get
enjoyed
better
our
at it.
convo. Yeah.
Um, I've only been doing this a month,
Oh,
um,
wow. Okay. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with my crazy butt today. Um,
Absolutely.
we we will have uh, more conversations about this because I'm excited, and I think I'm gonna have some clients for you um, with your credit restoration stuff as well.
Thank you. Well,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, I'll have a couple. Do you on your website? Do you have your the prices and stuff on there too?
Yeah, once you click out, it all goes to the pricing sheet and everything like that.
I actually have a question about
Mm-hmm.
your credit restoration program.
Oh, sure.
What what do you guys do differently besides sending the letters out?
Sure. There's one option that we have AI where it generates the letters and you do it yourself. And there's another option where we're doing it totally for you. So not only are we sending the letters, but every time you get a response from Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, you're sending that to us and you're not doing anything. That's all you're doing. Email them to us, we'll take care of it.
And that's a one time fee or no? 'Cause I don't remember what that was. That's a
Sure.
monthly fee.
There's a one-time sign-up fee and then there's a monthly fee after that. So it's either 49 or 89 after that.
Okay. Now
Mhm.
on average, person has 550.
Yeah.
How long do they stay in your program? And on average, and what's their average uptick in their score over that
Sure.
period of time?
Yeah, it all depends. And we have a 120-day money back guarantee. So if we're not able to get items off, then we're giving your money back. So that's just the integrity behind it. But the average, it can range from, it depends on what you have. If you had, you had two foreclosures on there and three evictions, it's gonna
So,
take us a little longer to do.
right.
Than the guy
So
that just came in with one credit card and he just needs, trade
the
lines
more
and stuff
recent
to mix
stuff is
them
the
up.
harder stuff, right?
Yeah, if it's more recent, of course, it's gonna hit you harder. But if you have old items, of course, those are easier. If you had something that's been sitting on there for 8 years that shouldn't even be there, that's an easy, take this off. It's not supposed to be there kind of thing.
Do you go over with your clients the credit pie when you have 30% is this? I think it's 30% you pay your
Mhm.
30% is balances, having having low balance, whatever that pie is.
Yeah.
Because there are times when a person may think they need to get their credit fixed when they just need to pay their balances down.
Yeah, and I've done that. I know I've kind of took money out of my own pocket sometimes by doing that. I'm like, 'cause they're like, I need to get my credit fixed. I'm like, but what's on it? And they're like, oh, I have this and this. And when I look, they just pay their bills bad. It's
Right.
like
Just pay
something
the
really
balances down.
simple. And I'm like, if you just took this down from 60% to 30, it would go up like 40 points. You don't need me per se. You don't
Right.
have anything old in Ranius or you don't have anything in collections. There's nothing for a company to do for you. It's for you to do work, you know?
I think that's important for people to
Hmm.
know. Because somebody may sign up for a program that's like, yo, man, you don't have anything negative. You just got to
Yeah.
pay your stuff down.
And I've seen
As a
people
matter of
do that
fact,
and
I got
get,
it.
yeah, I've seen people sign up for other, not through me, but for people that signed up and then they get angry and want to be mad at the company. I'm like, granted, they should have told you, but
Uh-huh.
you need to know, that's where financial literacy comes in. You don't even need us. So what you need is the education behind it. And I think that's the piece that we need to push more out there, as you said.
When they sign up for your program, do they have to, the first credit report, they have to get on their own, or do you guys pull it as well?
No, we pull it.
Pull,
And somebody calls
is
you
it a
and goes
soft
over it.
pull?
Yeah, it's a soft pull, and somebody calls you and goes over all the items. As a matter of fact, I did it myself because I always believe in being a product of the product. So I did it myself just to see how it would work and what they would do. They called me, and then in 10 days, they said, 10 days, this is what we did. This is what got deleted. In 30 days, they're like, okay, this was your score. This is where it is now.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very transparent.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm going to have some clients for you. That's a
Okay, great.
promise. Hey, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed
I,
our conversation.
I appreciate it. I'll get this edited um, and post it and sent to you tonight, first thing in the morning.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.